The Canadian Bitcoiners podcast is just two guys and maybe a guest or two discussing Bitcoin, Bitcoin equities, and the related macroeconomic space. It's not meant to be financial advice, so please, if you're doing any investing after listening to our program, do your own research, do your own due diligence, and understand that any money you invest can be lost. The show is meant for entertainment purposes only, and we hope you enjoy the program.
Friends and enemies, a beautiful Monday night, as always. About to be an eventful Monday night here on CBP, joined by my co-host who's been on hiatus for reasons well known. Buddy, what's going on over there? It's super nice over here where I am. I know we don't live too far away from each other, but I hope everything is good over there too.
No, it's very nice, Joy. It's very, very nice. Although I didn't spend very much time outside, I've been holed up. Very busy day for me. And whatever. Busy day for Bitcoin, busy week for Bitcoin, busy week in TradFi, busy everything. I can't believe what's going on. I missed 1 week.
Yeah.
You know, I missed 1 week, and they dropped the hammer on all this privacy stuff. And the hammer just keeps falling down, or people are avoiding the hammer and just going into holes. It's just nuts what's happened in the past little while. I can't believe it. This might be the last time I ever take any time off. Man,
pretty crazy, eh? Like the week we just had, it's one of those weeks where like everything, what was that saying, right? There's years where nothing happens, and then there's years where decades happen or whatever. I don't know if that's really the saying, but something of that nature. Crazy though. Crazy the stuff that's been going on. More today, obviously, with Wells notices and clampdowns, even since Scribe and I talked on Monday. Anyways, let's talk about the sponsors, then we'll get into all the stuff that everyone wants to hear. First of all, EasyDNS, best place for you to acquire a domain name. Mark and team, the friendly neighborhood registrar, post your content there. CanadianBitcoiners.com is there. No research report this week because I was super busy on the weekend, but Len, as always, putting up the what's to come on the Monday show, and in the interview space for us every week, he puts that up. Plus, Len, other things available on EasyDNS. Don't forget, okay, you can bring your emails over there if you want to bring, or if you want to bring a domain over there with email or without. You can do that. If you want to get a little bit of help setting up a domain or setting up email, you can do that. Also virtual private server, a suite of options for you there. Whether you want to do Bitcoin nodes, BTC Pay server, nodeless, you name it, anything you want. And of course, Mark and team always there to help out. They've given us a ton of help, and I know that he's jumped into action a bunch of times to help you guys out too. So if you're looking to do that, head over to easydns.com. Tell them we sent you. Use the code CBP Media, and your first round of purchases is half off. Can't beat that. Not a bad way to start your relationship with Mark and the team over there.
Well, let's not forget about Bull Bitcoin, right? And today, I think today is the last day that you could buy kyc-free Bitcoin through Canada Post using Bull Bitcoin. It's either today or tomorrow. I don't know how it works, but either way, you have just mere hours to go ahead. So if you love kyc-free Bitcoin and you want to use Bull Bitcoin to do it, you only have just hours to get that done. So go ahead and do that. But they don't just only sell right now KYC. They also sell on-chain. You could, and not just on-chain, you could also buy with Lightning. So when the transaction fees are high, you could use Lightning. You can also sell with Lightning. You can also sell on-chain. A lot of different options with Bull Bitcoin. You can also pay your bills with your Bitcoin. You know, if you have a stack of Bitcoin, you made some tremendous gains and you want to start using that. Well, through Bull Bitcoin, you can start using the Bitcoin that you have stacked and use that to pay your bills. Pretty cool stuff. Also, you could use the Bitcoin that you have stacked and you could buy gift cards. Use that in the real world, and then you can start buying stuff indirectly with Bitcoin. So you're living on the Bitcoin standard. That's pretty darn cool. A lot of options that you have with Bull Bitcoin. As I mentioned before, the last few hours are upon us. KYC free, Canada Post. Do your orders. If you haven't, I mean, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. But yeah, open up an account. Use our promo code below. Do that. Fund your account. Provide the necessary information. $21 is going to be added to your account. No questions asked.
Can't beat it, man. Can't beat it. Let's do a little housekeeping. So last week in your absence, a busy week here on CBP. We had obviously Scribe, who I want to thank once again for filling in. I was just on YouTube today. Positive comments. I got a few DMs from people saying they appreciate what he's been doing for the show. Obviously, he's coming under a few different names and a wealth of knowledge. So we're happy to have him anytime he's available to fill in for one of us. You can't beat that. Your two favorites, Bailey and Goodwin, last week on Tuesday night. A lot of positive feedback on that interview. I think some people, much like you, upset that they came on, but overall, I haven't heard anyone say that they didn't find some value. Great. Wednesday, high hash rate. I did late at night with the boys there. I got to tell you, Len, I don't know how you managed to do that show so late at night. Like, I was exhausted, but I still think we had a really good conversation. And then Thursday, I did Why Are We Bullish with, who's I on there with? Bitcoin Walks. Great. That's a great initiative, by the way. Go for a walk and talk about Bitcoin. I love that. Ben Justman, based winemaker out of Colorado. And who's the other person that was on there with me?
Ben Perrin.
No, Ben was there for sure. Oh, it was only three? Yeah, but I thought there was one more. No, there wasn't. That was it. Yeah, no, that was it. There's just four of us. Yeah, of course. And then Friday, if you haven't heard yet, go check out my interview on Michael Campbell's Money Talks. Mike and I don't often trade notes before the show, but this week they asked for some stuff that he could brush up on a few days before the interview. And then Friday, when I talked to him in the afternoon, right away, he said, listen, we got to abandon all that stuff. There's too much going on. The clamps, like you said, Len, starting to come down, the heavy hand of the regulators coming down, Canada, the United States, and elsewhere. So we talked about that and went over some of the threats and trends on that front. This week, another 2-interview week, I think, right? Tomorrow,
I have one on Wednesday.
Yeah,
if you have another
tomorrow,
one.
I'm talking to Rich Diaz from Loonie Hour, who completes our collection of Loonie Hour hosts. Len spoke with Steve Stretsky, I think in 2023. I had Keith Dicker on late last year as well, November 2023. And then Rich is the last one. Rich, I think he shares a lot of our views, Len, on some of the risks in markets, some of the risks in policy error and overreach. And I'm interested in hearing some of the stuff he has to say about everything from Canadian markets to Bitcoin to I think some of the sort of social aspects of market action, if that's the term that you would use for something like that. There's been, I think, something we talked about on the show a lot, a lack of narrative control from the usual controllers of narrative over the last 2, 3, 4 years. And it's starting, I think, to cause friction. So I'm looking forward to talking to him very much. I think he's a very smart guy who isn't doing enough public appearances, in my opinion, but we'll see if we can change that. And then Wednesday, you're talking to
Fundamentals.
Raw Paper Bitcoin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
So yeah, he's we've been communicating for a little while offline, and yeah, he's our boy from Philly. I know that he's communicated that he was a idiot savant that played 94 back in the day, and I want to talk to him about that. But yeah, he shares a lot of the same values I do, so I look forward to chatting with him. And he was just on high hash rate not too long ago. In fact, the episode was just uploaded last week, so I think he was on before you went. Nice. Or maybe a week or two.
There are a few episodes back. I think I was on the feed today. Brandon Keys, like Green Candle, Brandon was on there recently. Heartland was on there recently. Or was it both high hash rate guys? I forget now. But I mean, there's a lot of, and I said this on the high hash rate show, there's so much value, I think, in like pleb podcasts like ours, like theirs, that because I think sometimes as a pleb, you kind of forget that you have so much more experience than the average person when it comes to Bitcoin, and certainly more experience than like new market participants who are coming into the space for the first time, whether it be equities or in the layer one asset. And that kind of experience a lot of times goes unshared or undershared because people are afraid to have their voices heard, right? They're usually not in a position where they're the subject matter expert. But thanks to podcasts like theirs and like ours and like others, we're all getting a voice. And I think it's helping, Len. I really do. That's why we do the show, and that's why they do the show, I'm sure. So yeah, I'm excited for both of those. I want to apologize to the Fundamentals because I know he tweeted that he's looking forward to talking to us. I have dinner plans on Wednesday night. Otherwise, I would certainly hop in, but I try and get dinner with my old man at his place once a week if I can swing it. And it's getting harder and harder to swing it these days, unfortunately, with work and the show and some other stuff that I'm not ready to share quite yet, but probably will be in the next few weeks. And it's busy. It's a busy time over here. And I know you're busy too, Len. So I appreciate you making time for Fundamentals on Wednesday night.
No, I'll be happy to chat with him all day long. You know, and if like I said, we share a lot of the same values with respect to Bitcoin and video games. So we'll be happy to chat with him anytime.
Streaming a game? Are you gonna stream a game?
No, I don't think he's up to it because his setup is not yet complete. Buddy, get with it, man. I've been telling him get some online help, because he's having some issues with the core. So I don't know what the fuck it is. Anyway, he's got to figure that shit out. That's beyond my pay grade. But I got some boosts, Joey. I do have some boosts I want to get off my chest.
Let's rip it.
So, we got, this guy, edit a user, change your name, put in a user, because this guy, user 67717, blah, blah, blah. Just so many numbers. Put a name in there. Anyways, he says, good discussion. Like to hear all sides. And this is with respect with you and the two cucks from the magazine people. And Mo BTC Dick, 500 sats. Great to hear these guys' opinions on this sort of stuff. Good to hear how they're thinking. Actions speak louder than words, I guess. Doom Damasm, 521 sats. Thank you for your time. He's back at it, doing his thank you for your time stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, so do I. Owen, 521 sats. This was a great discussion. Bitcoin cancel culture is 100% a thing. And I'm sure most of us have censored our thoughts at one time or other to prevent judgment. We are, after all, a tribal species. Anyway, I don't pretend I have the answers to what is right or wrong. Ordinals are a rich man game. Actually, they're scammers. If you go away, something else will come along. I'm just going to keep stacking sats and supporting open source. Fuck them. And that's it. He puts an emoji there of just like him doing a yoga pose.
Nice.
I've never seen that before.
The Zen pose. He's Zen after that episode.
That's it. The Zen, Zen pose. That's it. Yeah. And Rander 555 sats. Smith machine for the win. I personally use it all the time. How the fuck could you not? Haha.
Smith Machine's good. I mean, Boomer gives me some shit on Twitter once in a while for Smith Machine, although I wasn't using it today. I will say that there comes a time, I think, in your lifting career where if you're maxing out and you 2.5 pound plates are still making you a little weary in terms of am I going to be able to get this wrap up? Do I really trust this guy spotting me? Blah, blah, blah. The Smith Machine is important because you can really load up and build strength. I'm choosing that word very carefully. Build strength in a way that perhaps free barbell will not allow you to do when you're concerned about crushing your larynx underneath the bar. And so you build up on the Smith Machine to a high weight, and then you can back off to the barbell and make that 2.5 pound or 5 pound jump, and then continue your overload progress. There's also deloading and stuff you can do, but I've never tried that, to be honest with you. Right now I'm dealing with a calf strain, which is really pissing me off, but that's neither here nor there. I just figured I'd vent
always a lower body injury for Joey.
Because I play too many sports. That's the problem.
Too much lower body injury.
Yeah, too much explosive movement. I'll tell you that much. There's a joke to be made there about lower body explosive movement, but we'll save it for another time.
Second breakfast, 720 sats. He writes in, or she writes in, Canadian real estate is so fucked.
I don't know.
It's hard to debate against that, but you know what? It seems like there's always going to be room for this to grow. Yeah. But the Canadian dollar obviously is going to get wrecked at the same time. So
yeah, I was talking to Scott Deedles about this on Twitter a while ago. I'm not talking to him, but we had a back and forth. He thinks there's a huge crash coming. I don't see how it's possible, honestly. It's just more and more and more people coming in. Neither party wants to stop extending AMs. The amount of exposure our pensions have to the CRE and probably to residential real estate, whether directly or indirectly or second order. I just don't see any kind of if a real estate crash really happens in this country, you're going to feel it more than you would any kind of, hard landing. I'll say that much. I think that's a safe bet.
Anything else you want to discuss before we dive right into it? Because I'm done my checklist.
No, I think that's it.
Thinking.
I think that's
all
it.
right.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Let's go right into it because we could talk about a few related. Man, I got a lot of Bitcoin related stuff I want to talk about because Roger, well, he's the accused tax dodger, and he was arrested in Spain this past week. And the U.S. They've completed the mission to nab Roger Ver, and I guess they could get the Achievement Unlocked award for this one. I don't know how rare this is, but anyways, showed off that rage quitting the United States isn't as clean as most people think it is. And for those who have already ditched the U.S., I'm kind of looking at people like you, Max. Take note what's happened here. I'm not sure if you guys have all done the clean way of doing things, but it could get rather nasty moving forward. And the U.S. government, they're making claims that the Dodger was involved in mail fraud, tax fraud, and filing false tax returns. Okay. And these allegations are that he also sold a significant amount of Bitcoin, somewhere in the vicinity of $240 million worth, through his US-based companies. And this was done back in 2017. And through this all, it's the claim that he concealed these sales from his accountant, and as such, he was then failed to report this and pay this on his taxes. And, well, apparently he owes somewhere in the vicinity of $48 million to the IRS. This is all as per what I am reading. I don't know what the truth is here, but whatever. And this has also led to providing false information to his law firm and its appraiser, leading to underestimation of his company's value, and also his personal Bitcoin holdings and his tax returns. So there's a few different things. This just basically, it's a cascade effect here. Mm-hmm. And now, following his arrest in Spain, the U.S. is seeking his extradition, and they're going to be hopefully putting him to trial. That's their goal here. That's what they want to do. Personally, though, I have to say myself, I have no opinion on this arrest. None. Because I don't have all the information. I think only Roger and maybe the IRS really have all the information here, because I'm just reading what I could read, and I don't think I have all the information to connect dots. But it makes me wonder what the fuck is going on, though. Because, the perception here is that there's an effort to make life painful for people in this space by going after Roger. And so more than anything, make this a warning for anybody out there, not just the Maxes of the world, but everybody. Make sure you follow the rules as much as possible. I know this sounds to be like, you're selling out, whatever. Let's be honest. We live in a world, we live in society. You have to follow the rules. If you don't, you're going to potentially suffer the consequences. So depending on your jurisdiction you live, if you transact in Bitcoin, you may need to report all this, and you have to be forthcoming with a lot of this information. Now, with all that being said, I do have to say that all this stuff that's going on with the United States, seems to be United States is leading the way here with all these actions and enforcements. Canada, for whatever reason, seems to be more accepting of what's going on. Canada doesn't seem to be they're not going out. Aside from the Canada Post stuff, we can still buy KYC-free Bitcoin. There's no rules or anything against that. Transacting it, we understand what are the rules and regulations surrounding that. On-ramps, they're still available. Now, they may go after them in the future, but to date, things seem to be much better, I would say, in Canada than it is in the United States with respect to what's going on in the world of Bitcoin. Maybe that's my perception. Maybe I'm surrounded by trees and I can't see outside of it, but that's just the way I see things.
Okay, I'll touch on that first since you just said it. There's a proposal in place as part of the budget that there is not going to be any more KYC free Bitcoin. You have to report all your buys starting next year. So whether if you do KYC free or light KYC, either with Bull or ATMs or whatever, at that point, if that legislation passes and you don't report your buys, you're Roger Ver. You're the Canadian Roger Ver at that point. Couple things I want to note here. Ver is accused of basically relinquishing his U.S. citizenship without going through the normal tax implications and paying the normal taxes. When you relinquish your U.S. citizenship, you don't just get to throw it in the garbage and do a little dance on TikTok. You have to pay an exit tax. And the exit tax is some percentage. I'm trying to find it here. It depends on where you look, but it's some percentage of the net unrealized gain on all your assets, all of them. Homes, currency, jewelry, art, sunglasses, cameras, Bitcoin, everything. The day before your expatriation, that's the date. So, if he expatriated, I don't know, in like whatever year, I guess it would be like 2016, 17, something like that. Assuming the guy's got, thousands of Bitcoin, it's a big chunk of change. Then you talk about real estate and other stuff too, whatever other cryptos this guy's holding. And he's holding a bunch. I just heard him on a space the other day or the other week talking about how he's got a bunch of other shit. So he didn't pay tax on any of that. Now, in my head, he's, if I just leave it there, I think a lot of people in TradFi are going to go, this guy's just another tax cheat. Like all these Bitcoin people are just tax cheats, blah, blah, blah. Okay, no, I think that's not fair. I think there's many more tax cheats in TradFi than there are in Bitcoin. That's almost a no-brainer, just because of volume at the very least, certainly in total value. But I would also argue there's more individuals and corporations who are cheating the tax man in TradFi because the microscope is so much more finely fixed on people who are affiliated with Bitcoin. And if you think that this is just a case of a guy who happens to have a high profile or happens to be easy to grab because of the amount of dollars being a tax cheat, I would, refer you to the Office of Public Affairs for the U.S. Justice Department. And I would ask you to go through the releases and see if you notice anyone being tagged with any of the quote unquote like cultural references or relevances they may have. Meanwhile, in terms of your comment there, Len, about how they're making things hard for people in the space. Yeah. And Scribe and I talked about this last week. I talked about it with Mike Campbell. There's a clear attempt here to suppress the Bitcoin price via the chilling effect, done with privacy, done with narrative about how the thing is worthless, and now done with enforcement, both on the side of Samurai and now Ver. From the Office of Public Affairs website, early Bitcoin investor charged with tax fraud. Okay. No name, no nothing. Subheading, man known as Bitcoin Jesus evaded nearly 50 million in taxes. No sane person can tell me that this is not an attempt to scare the fuck out of everyone else who's holding Bitcoin and maybe is not sure about how much taxes they should have paid over the last 10 years. You just can't tell me that. I don't believe it. And I think that if you look back in the press releases here, I have the website up. You can go back as long as you want. Court bars Missouri CPA from promoting charitable remainder annuity trust tax scheme. Florida hospital system agrees. 5 federal departments join Justice Department in reaffirming shared commitment to uphold civil rights laws. There's nothing in here from the last God knows how long about specific cultural relevancies that are related to the people that they're apprehending or charging or alleging committed tax fraud. You can make it this what you will. But like I said, any sane person looks at this and understands that they're trying to send a message. It's to you and me. It's to you and me. They're trying to send messages to people who hold Bitcoin and saying, you are not outside the long arm of the law. Now, to our credit, I think we've never suggested that. And I think many Bitcoiners would make the case that if I was going to commit some kind of fraud, Bitcoin would be the worst thing to possibly do it with. It's easily traceable. There's tons of KYC options. Depending on how you feel about chain analysis, it's pretty easy to track down a wallet. And even better, Len, no one manages their UTXOs. So it's like no doubt that if someone is caught evading taxes, they're going to know exactly how much Bitcoin you have when you leave the country or relinquish your citizenship or whatever. This is not, it's not a tool for evading taxes. It's a tool for avoiding debasement. And that's what the messaging is trying to skirt around. It's not about, oh, well, people are holding Bitcoin. Or I shouldn't say this, but it's not about, the messaging is not trying to say, look, you shouldn't hold Bitcoin because it's just a way to avoid taxes. The messaging is trying to say, if you hold Bitcoin, we are looking at you. If you hold Bitcoin, we will find you. Even Bitcoin Jesus was caught. I'll also say, I'd be curious how you feel about this. This messaging is for us, I think. I'm using us in like the sort of royal sense, the Bitcoin holders. I don't think any Bitcoin holders actually take this messaging seriously.
No.
I think what you will see instead is less new participants to the self-custody market, which we've talked about in the past, is I think what the government is looking to really lean on. Got to keep people away from self-custody, got to keep people away from holding their own keys, force them into the ETF, cattle pen, and hold the Bitcoin for them. They get exposure to the price, but not to the freedom. Which, by the way, Mark Goodwin, Bitcoin Magazine, if you took the transcript of the stuff he said on Monday and told people that you said it about the ETF and self-custody, they'd believe it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I see a murderer in jail who basically turns his life around and, may have turned his life, but it says that he's found Jesus and he's repented and he's reformed and all this stuff. But look at the body of work. You've killed a number of people. Fortunately, not only did the courts claim you as a murderer, but the court of public opinion claimed you as a murderer.
Point taken. But I will say that I think there's something to be said here about this idea that there's an attempt now to herd people into these vehicles and away from self-custody. I think there's a chance that like the money transmission thing. I didn't say this on Mike's show, but I talked to him about it afterwards. The money transmission license thing that Samurai is being accused of, or Whirlpool is being accused of. Up until 2019, in any legislation or in any ruling, including private letter rulings, money transmission used to mean receiving and transmitting currency. Well, there's no receipt of currency or money in the Samurai's case, and so like they're again, like we'll talk about this with Robinhood. We'll talk about it here. There's an attempt to create law through enforcement action, to create jurisprudence and precedent through enforcement action. It's not right. This is not how the law is supposed to work. And I said it last Monday, I'll say it again. You got to ask yourself, here in Canada, okay, we got the Bitcoin Coalition, who, like I said last week, many of you guys have messaged me and told me they don't fucking do anything except take pictures at conferences. In the States, you have Coin Center, this outfit that tweets out memes and claims to be influencing legislation, though clearly is not in any meaningful way. And we continue to say, like, look, we have to engage in good faith with governments and try and why? They're not engaging with good faith, even in their own laws, let alone with what you're planning on doing, like usurping this, sinking ship. They would rather have you rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic than allow you a lifeboat. Period. End of story. And so, like, I just, all these things together are frustrating to me. And that's why this morning when you sent me the thumbnail, I'm like, fuck, we're mad about this, I guess, because
I'm pissed at everything.
We should be, because it's not fair. Yes. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? You can't, point, if you ask for guidance, you don't get it. Okay. And we'll talk about that with the Robinhood thing. If you ask for guidance from the SEC or whoever in the States, you don't get it. And if you ask for ways to hold the vehicle in an ETF tax advantage account, you don't get it. And then you ask for, what am I supposed to do when I leave the country? You're supposed to pay your taxes. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I don't know. We'll find out. Samurai guys, okay, we're not going to be a money transmitter because we don't receive the money. Well, too bad. Now we're taking that out of the definition. The rules are fluid only for one team in the game. And so it's like, it's like the same way I used to play games with my younger brother when we were kids. If there was ever a moment where I thought I was going to lose, I just changed the rules. What's he going to do? Nothing. He's, smaller than me, younger than me, dumber than me. That's how we are viewed by the Leviathan at the moment. My question remains for these people. Yeah. My question remains for these people who are like, whatever, touting their action and their influence. What the fuck have you been doing? Because whatever it is, it's not fucking working. So go find some other slant. All of you guys, stop telling people you're helping. Stop telling people you're engaging. Stop telling people you're in the room. You're not. It's clear. If you're in the room, you're just serving the fucking coffee and throwing the cups in the garbage because you're sure as shit not influencing policy here, the US, in Europe, anywhere. And so, Len, what do? We got to keep playing.
There's nothing we could do. There's nothing you should do. No.
What should we do? What do you think?
Sit back and enjoy. This is an open source, decentralized technology. There's not, and I've said this many a time, there's nothing these guys can do to stop this fucking thing. They could ban mining, they could ban on-ramps, they could ban the whole fucking thing all they want. It will do nothing. It may slow it down, but it does not change the fact this thing is going to fucking take over. I love it. And I love watching this take an effect. It shows you that it is on their minds and they want to do something to prevent it or make it more difficult for people. Yeah, make it more difficult for new people. Eventually, they'll fucking learn. The people are already in this space. They know how to use it, and they'll use it as much as they can, not to their advantage, but just as per the letter of the law. I could buy Bitcoin. You were mentioning in Canada, they might stop that, and if they start reporting even KYC-free buys, until that's instituted,
all buys, right?
All buys, yeah.
The other, yeah.
Until that's instituted, you're able to buy. Just like there's that report in Canada saying that they're saying if you have to leave, you have to pay $25,000 and you're going to pay, I forget, there's some taxes. Until that's instituted, you're able to do it. So, and even then, who knows what's going to happen? So as per right now, hey man, I'm buying, I'll keep stacking and enjoy it. Fuck, it's the good thing, man. There may be a lot of these things going around out there, but it's,
I'll be in Montreal with a camera and mics, and I would love if like Brad Mills, Carlo Campisi, like all these policy people explain to me what you guys have been doing. Because I like you, I like Brad, I like Carlo. Carlo was like our fucking first girlfriend, when we started the podcast. You know what I mean? And like I want those guys to be successful, but I think they're going about it the wrong way at this point. At some point you have to admit that you're throwing good money after bad. It's like every time they are up in the middle of the night, their girlfriend is texting some name they don't recognize, and they just keep going back to bed. I just don't. I don't know what are you supposed to do?
They're
right?
an insignificant player in this game. Either they achieve something or they don't achieve something. Again, at this particular moment, I have no more fucks left to give. Whatever happens, and that's basically it.
Yeah,
it will not change my opinion on the way I'm going to be doing things, and I'll preach to anybody who will listen how it is I think you should be doing things. Do your own research if you think I'm right or wrong. And if you do that, you'll be okay until they change the way the game is played. But until then, you have every opportunity to buy and keep stacking away. Whatever these guys do, they could do. Good, bad, insignificant, I don't give a fuck.
Muslim Bitcoiner in the chat making a point that I was going to make, but decided not to. But since he's making it, they're going to stop hardware wallets from shipping to US and Canada, I bet. Would you bet against that? Like inside of, I don't know, 2 years?
No, you can make your own if you really wanted to. So they're going to
would they stop like Cold Card and Ledger?
No.
And you don't think?
No. If they go that route, they're going to start banning Bitcoin altogether. Now, if they ban Bitcoin, I can see them banning that. But it's not going to be one without the other. It's going to be just a totality.
The more rational thing, I think the more rational thing to do would be to let them keep shipping and just, again, like create another honeypot of names and addresses that they could go to for taxes and whatnot. I think there's a real chance that, like, again, I'll repeat what I said on Money Talks, and I said it here before too. If someone wants to know how much you have of something, it's not because they just want to admire the total number. It's because they want to tax it and take it and make it difficult for you to use it and accrue wealth with it, et cetera, et cetera. If you don't think that, I mean, I cannot imagine why, but yeah, I don't know. Oh, again, open invite, Montreal. I'll be there. Carlo, Brad, if you guys are interested.
It's next week, isn't it? Next
2
week,
weeks,
Friday.
2 weeks. Yeah. I'd be happy to talk to you.
Oh.
I'll even
it's next week. It's today. It's not this Monday.
15th. Yeah, it's next week, middle of next week.
Right, like this thing is creeping up fast. But anyways, that's what else is creeping us fast is the end of the show, Joey, because we're 30 minutes in.
Even after a week off, you didn't lose your touch on the transitions there.
Hell no.
Segues.
ZK Snacks. Let's talk about those guys because that's the firm behind Wasabi Wallet, and they're going to be shutting down their CoinJoin services starting June 1st. And also effective immediately as of a few days ago, they're blocking all U.S. citizens and residents from visiting their website. So VPN usage, I assume, is going to be going up. You know what? I have a VPN and I'm normally in the U.S. I should go on their website to see what it looks like. I'll do that in just a minute. But either way, at the heels of all this is like it happened right after the Samurai fiasco, that whole saga where they had the co-founder arrested and put in trial for offering services that helps facilitate money laundering. And for those who have been following those developments, Bitcoin News was reporting that the co-founder, Keon Rodriguez, hope I pronounced his right, he pleaded not guilty to the charges. He was also released on $1 million bond, and he was reportedly to remain on house arrest in Pennsylvania until his trial. So he's stuck there at home until his trial is heard. So you have to just look at all the bullshit that's going on, because between Samurai and Wasabi voluntarily shut their things down. I don't blame them for what they've done, especially what's just transpired with Samurai. But privacy usage of Bitcoin obviously is a problem for some folks. And like I said earlier, with respect to this, Canada seems to be much better than the US, maybe until a law states that we have to start reporting all our buys, both KYC and KYC free. But at least Canada doesn't seem to be going after the people like they are in the US. Mm-hmm. And after seeing all this, like, come on, like, you were saying they're trying to push people into custody, like ETFs, for instance, right? Like that seems to be what they want you to buy, right? Like it makes sense, easy to track, easy to control, easy to deal with so many things. Like people out there, like if you want to go balls deep into ETFs, I'm sure there's already a lot of people that are thinking of it and already done it. Hopefully you haven't. Like do your research, but my suggestion, if you're going to do this, like pull out first. Don't go balls deep yet. Pull out, put some lube on it, apply this shit liberally. And then close your eyes and give it that mega thrust. Go all the way in at that point, but keep your eyes still closed, right? Because maybe, it might feel good initially, but then it seem kind of strange until you finally open your eyes and you realize the person you're giving it to has a sausage and you've been sold a false bill of goods. So as I'm trying to say is you're going to get fucked one way or another if you do this. But I'll be standing in a corner watching this and saying, would you look at that? And I'll be sleeping good at night because I know my shit is not on the ETFs. But either way, as I said, I have no more fucks left to give here. My tolerance for all this shit is at an all-time low. Whatever happens, whatever you guys want to do, all the more power to you. But my suggestion is don't fucking go into the ETFs. Learn the art of self-custody. Do that. That's the way to do it. Like I say, between Wasabi, Samurai, and all this shit, there's fucking signposts everywhere, as you say, Joey.
Yeah.
Take heed. take notice, do something. If not, well, whatever. Just apply some more lube.
Isn't it funny that I think a lot of people who are buying the ETF are like, well, it'll never get confiscated. It'll never get rugged. It'll never get. That may be true. I don't know. Like Mark and Dave last week were both saying that it's guaranteed to get rugged. I'm not sure I agree. But what I am sure about is that we have an example of what happens when there's a gap, an arbitrage opportunity between the asset itself in your custody and the paper product related to the asset. And it's gold. It's not even that hard to figure this out. Like if you can leave the 6102 behind. Ignore that for now. Okay. Mm-hmm. When you look at the price of gold, okay, what is it now? $2,300 and something dollars. I don't know. Let's say it's like $2,300. I got to put that on my block clock. It's $2,300. Len, I want you to go to any physical gold dealer in the Southern Ontario region and try and get an ounce of gold for $2,300 US. How do you think it's going to go?
You're going to obviously not get it.
You're not going to get it for $2,300.
There's going to be a spread. It'll be close. It's 2%, 3% off. It'll be
like
close.
9%, not 2% or 3%. It's fucking high because everyone in gold realizes what they got with the physical. And I think Bitcoin is going to go the same way. If I want to buy Bitcoin from you, P2P, instead of buying it on some exchange that I can't custody or some ETF that I can't custody, there's going to be a premium. I think
Costco's at 2%, by the way, just a heads up. And Costco's
is it really?
Yeah,
that's in this. That's in the States, right? Only in the States. In the
States, it's okay, around 2%. So like, there's real vendors out there, legitimate.
What's it cost to ship the gold?
I have no fucking clue about that. But if you're gonna order your detergent, we order a bunch of gold bars too.
Somehow I doubt the same guy delivers the the bar and the tie, but okay. But you get what I'm saying. There's clearly an arbitrage. Even when I worked at a pawn shop, like, I don't know how long ago it was now. Fuck, longer than I care to admit. I think I was like 23 or 24 at the time. Maybe even younger, 22. Jeez, my God, time is flying.
Time flies, doesn't it?
I know. Anyway, I still remember, like, we had this rule that there was always a bit of a haircut if people wanted to buy gold from us compared to the per ounce price. That was my first exposure to like commodity pricing. How does this work? We have to look at it every day. We have to know what the price is at any given moment. We have to share that price with the customer. We have to let them know why our price is a little different, blah, blah, blah. And you start to figure this out. You internalize it. So again, just to tie the knot on it here, tie a bow on this. For people who think it's not going to get rugged, I think the question I would have for you is like, what's your definition of rug? To me, the definition of rug is you can't ever hold it. You can't ever use it. You don't actually have the Bitcoin, and people who actually will sell you Bitcoin or have Bitcoin that's actual real Bitcoin, physical Bitcoin, quote unquote physical Bitcoin, they won't sell it to you for the price that you see on TradingView. They're just not going to do it. And I think that's already happening a little bit, right? If you go to something like BISC or RoboSats, what's the spread compared to market? Is it higher?
It varies. Obviously it's higher. BISC, depending on what the seller's willing to sell it to you at. So it could be a few percent. It could be double-digit percentage.
Like there's something to that. And so I think the big thing, again, like we get lost in the sauce about the most extreme circumstances or scenarios that could play out. And there's obviously a greater than 0% chance of all those things happening. But don't miss what's probably going to happen along the way, which is you're going to have to pay more than you're willing to or more than you expect to for physical Bitcoin in the future. That's a no-brainer. It's happening in gold. I'm sure it happens in other commodity markets that I'm not familiar with, but it's just, to me, I can't imagine. It's so easy to hold Bitcoin right now. You buy it, you move to self-custody, you never look at it again. You don't even have to have the wallet in the same place that you're buying the Bitcoin. You just need the addresses. You just need the Sparrow implementation. You just need whatever, right? Whatever your sort of UI interface of choice is. It's like 100% secure. And like, Space Boy Lowry says, we almost never talk about him on the show. It's infinitely defensible. Like it's a perfect self-custody asset. And still people are like, no, I'm going to buy the ETF. Now, don't get me wrong. A friend of the show, SB, will get mad when he hears this. So I want to hedge my words here a little bit. There are
speak your mind, man.
This is what I think. People who are buying the ETF, a lot of them are never going to buy spot Bitcoin anyways. They don't need it. They don't want it. They don't care. They don't get the mission. They're rolling in cash anyways. Okay. Their money's working for them already. They're boomers, they're pension funds, whatever. They're not going to buy spot. Fine. I get that. Those people I'm not holding on hope for, but don't be one of these people who comes into the space And the day that the ETF launches, Robinhood sends you a note in the app and says the Bitcoin ETFs are live. You can buy your Bitcoin ETF here. Here's the ticker symbol for the BlackRock ETF. You have to do better than that as a young person. Anyone under the age of, I don't know, what's the number, Len? 50 at this point, like should have the technical competence to be able to do this and take it seriously. And, you know,
I'm working with I got a meeting arranged beginning of June with, I guess we would call them people above 50, and they are going to do all self-custody using a card. So the age is just a number. If you know how to use a cell phone, fuck, you could do self-custody. It is not that hard. It's just, if you don't want to do it, that's fine, but it's just down to sheer laziness. That's it. Because if you know how to use a computer, you know how to use a cell phone, you could do it. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. Let somebody else take care of it for you. But if something happens along the line, which, you know, may or may not happen, but the chances are much greater than zero that something could happen. And if it does, yes, you know, you accept the consequences that go along with it. If you properly self-custody, if you fucking learn how to do passphrases, several of them too, good luck getting your Bitcoin. It's yours and the people that know the passphrases. That's it. There's no fucking, they could get your keys, but without those passphrases, it's useless to get to your Bitcoin. So there's no way to fucking hack into that without just hammering away with a bunch of computers and taking forever to do it. Just what I'm trying to say, it just doesn't make sense for anybody to do it. So yeah, fucking self-custody. I don't give a shit how old, how young you are. You could fucking do it. Everybody, I was going to say something, but I'll just I'll say it in the chat.
Sure. Okay. Put it in the Discord. Yeah.
Not the Discord. It's going to go in a single. Anyway, so let's talk about some more signposts, Joey, because there's an NBC story that came out, and federal prosecutors are looking at examining financial transactions from Block, which is the owner of Cash App and Square. And this whistleblower is alleging that there is widespread and years-long compliance lapses between Square and Cash App. And man, just the fact that he's doing this, I would have suggested he doesn't employ the Boeing whistleblower security services, because if he does, maybe let's not even think about that. Anyways, they're saying he's saying there's a lack of collection of information to assess customers' risks. But what is more damning here in this claim is that they're involved with processing a fuckload of transactions involving countries that are subjected to economic sanctions. And they're saying that just using this as a way to get around these sanctions. And they also saying that they're processing transaction for terrorist group. These are allegations from this whistleblower, and that's just looking at this. So nothing yet is sticking. But anyways, they're saying that they're dealing with credit card transactions, dollar transfers, and yes, even Bitcoin transactions. So here's another story. I'm just compiling a list of all the bullshit we're getting from the Department of Justice, who the fuck it is. Yeah. Just dealing with Bitcoin. SEC, we'll just talk about that in a little bit with their enforcement action, or sorry, their Wells notice they're handing out to Robinhood. Guys, take notice here. Look at all these fucking signposts. Again, if you don't do action and fucking protect yourself, it's on you. But if you do something, great. But everything is here. They're not hiding it. You can see all the bullshit that's going on. So take action before it's too late.
They're just not politically aligned with Dorsey, right? Dorsey tweeted out earlier that day something like "follow the money" or something like that. Like, you know,
he's right.
I know, and I think, you know, again, like red meat for the InfoWars crowd. You know, the day he sends out that tweet, suddenly, you know, 3-letter agencies are looking to clamp down on him, and there's an anonymous whistleblower, a guy who quite literally never had a run-in with regulators ever. The only time he did, he basically gave Twitter away to somebody else because he didn't want to deal with the blowback and the stress. Now you're telling me the guy is committing financial crimes? Okay. Like, we're not serious about this, are we? Jack in the tie-dye t-shirt, you know, like Joshua Tree Jack is the guy who's ripping off the U.S. government and funding terrorism or whatever the accusations are, you know, allowing money laundering to happen on his platform. Come on. We don't really think this. No sane person believes this to be the case. Dorsey, you know, he's got an axe to grind with the financial system. He is, don't forget the guy who tweeted out that hyperinflation is real and it's happening, or it's real and it's here, or something like that. I How do you feel about that tweet 2 years later? I think a lot of people in the government probably still hold that against him. And to suggest that there's not personal vendettas being carried out through those vehicles, I think is patently false. We've seen this happen a bunch of times. Gensler only in the last 2 weeks, not even accused, but proven to have been fabricating information, trying to pin down some crypto organization or some Bitcoin adjacent organization, as far as like trying to regulate them into oblivion. These people want Bitcoin dead, and they want to make examples of anyone who feels the opposite way and has a platform and a voice. And in Jack's case, the capital to effect change. And I think that if you don't see that, then that's on you, man. But to your point, Len, you can either protect yourself or wait till every signpost is, saying the cliff's edge is near. And by then it's too late to turn around. You're Wile E. Coyote, right?
MicroStrategy. I think it's a good time to bring them up because we're getting kind of late in this segment. Sure. And yeah, they have the new decentralized identity solution. So they are a Bitcoin development country.
So it's a solution, man.
Solution. Yeah. Well, this is it. This is a solution. Whatever. This is good for them, I guess. And people are wondering if this is the first visible and reliable chink in Saylor's armor. And I would say even the vision impaired could fucking see that is true. So according to MicroStrategy, these DIDs will use the Bitcoin blockchain exclusively to store and retrieve information, and it will be inscribing data in the witness of transaction, allowing for greater extensibility and verbosity when creating DID documents while reducing fees and block space consumed. So if you look at this, in other words, they're going to be using the subsidized portion of the block to document those DIDs. And thanks a lot for using the subsidized portion. Who the fuck asked for this is the first question I have. I didn't fucking ask for this, but I guess they think there's some value here. Just when we finally got over the JPEGs, the ruins, now we have a new contender fighting for block space, is these DIDs. But some questions, and Joey, feel free to answer any of them. Is this good for Bitcoin
No.
and its users?
No.
I agree. Is this good for MSTR?
Honestly, I think no. Listen, I don't know. You have any more questions? Should I respond? What do you want to do?
No, I made some more commentary, but no more questions. But if you want to go on and
you continue. You continue, and then maybe we'll finish. I think we're going to take more time on this than either of us expected. But okay, Len, who's asking for this?
That's one of the questions.
Who's asking for this? Who wants this?
Certainly do.
The maxis don't want it. So all the people that this guy's been catering to with his dumb fucking AI image posting every day don't want it. The people who are peripherally involved in Bitcoin through ETFs or a little bit of Coinbase on a Coinbase account, they don't give a fuck about this either. So they don't want it. He's claiming this is a corporate solution. I'll tell you, Len, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, no one is going to use this. None of them are going to use this because it's, quote unquote, open source. It's not really, it's like proprietary stuff. And I think it uses the ordinals identification thing, right? That's how it works. So it's identifying certain sats as
he's not using the op return. He's using the ordinal type. Yeah.
Okay. So that's a whole other set of issues. At the end of the day, I said this on High Hash Rate, and I'll say it here again. And it's something I've thought about a lot because Gandalf said this to us a little while ago that he was concerned about Saylor and the way he talks. When was the last time you heard Saylor speak organically about anything?
I don't listen to him all that much, so it's hard for me to
the answer is never. He crashed and burned on Marty and Matt's show 3 years ago on ESG. Marty torched him on how dumb ESG was, and Saylor was like, no, it's good. People forget about this. He crashed and burned. Ever since then, every appearance this guy has made has been very much premeditated and not two-way. I'll give you two good examples. One is the Cedric Youngelman interview on Bitcoin Matrix. Cedric's a great interviewer. He does tons of research on his guests, tons of research on what they're thinking and why they're thinking it. And he's done a good job interviewing people in the times I've heard him. I'd like to have him in this show, actually. Maybe I'll talk to him. He's going to be in Montreal. And I'd love to do his show as well. Saylor spoke on that program for 99% of the time, and it was like 3 hours, something like that. I forget now.
He always does that. This is his MO.
Okay, exactly. The other show, again, another guy who is very well versed, not only in economics, but also in Bitcoin technicals. Okay. Stefan Livera. Had him on in December, 2 hours and change. Livera barely got a word in edgewise. Saylor speaks at conferences. He goes on MSNBC. He speaks in MicroStrategy's calls. Doesn't really answer too many investor questions on the calls. To be honest with you, the investor questions are pretty lowbrow. Most of the Wall Street journalists are dumb as fuck. So they don't understand what questions to ask and what questions matter actually to Bitcoin and the network and the asset. My base case with Saylor now is that this guy has an agenda and he uses any platform he can to push it. He's garnered all this publicity and fame, and everyone's dying to have him on their show, even if it means that he gets to say whatever he wants unchallenged every time. And that's how the interviews go. This guy is very much operating at a different plane of awareness than the rest of us when it comes to what he's saying. We view it as, in a lot of ways, as organic. He did a podcast, blah, blah, blah. No, this is like stump speech stuff, pushing a narrative that he thinks is good for his bags, period, end of story. This is, to your point, the first time we're really seeing him exposed a little bit. Like, he can't help himself. He has to put this out there. I don't understand why, in a moment where all these other things are collapsing around Bitcoin, the privacy tools, the KYC, government regulation, mining enforcement, all these different reporting burdens that these guys have to endure. This is when he decides
timing is suspect.
It stinks to high hell is what it does. It stinks to high hell. Anyone who trusts Mike at this point, I don't know why you do. I don't know why you trust him.
Did you listen to him on Patrick Bet-David's show about 11 months ago?
I did.
And in that episode, and that's probably the last time I heard Michael Saylor, I didn't listen to his Livera talk.
Yeah. In a public setting.
I don't listen to his to many podcasts actually these days, but I listen to PBD. But anyways, 11 months ago, he was on that show and he mentioned, and I posted a video of that clip of it. He said he was talking about there's value in storing stuff on Bitcoin, data on Bitcoin. So he's mentioned this almost a year ago. Here it is that is coming to fruition. He was basically asking them, people on the show, what's the value of storing a will on Bitcoin? What if it's a will that is moving $1 billion from one person to another? What would you perceive to be the value of it? It would be $20. The guy answered yes. Would you do it for $100? Absolutely. If you're moving $1 billion, that's, you'd pay a fuckload of money to have that done. So clearly he has, he's trying to make a point at that particular moment that there is something more to Bitcoin than just using it as money. He sees that for storing some type of data, and here it is. These DIDs is something that at least MicroStrategy wants to monetize and use Bitcoin to do that. So I just wanted to lay it out there. It came out of left field. There's evidence to show that he does like this type of stuff. And it's less than a year ago he said this.
Which is weird because 2 years ago or 3 years ago, he was very clear that he wanted to ossify the protocol, right? The thing was supposed to be store value only. Now he has this opinion on IDs and wills and other stuff. He can't imagine it ever being used as a means of exchange. Completely out of the question, according to Mr. Saylor. But wills and digital IDs and other stuff, that's the use case. That's why you bought 1% of the circulating supply to put fucking wills on it. It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. And there's other ways. If he really wanted to accrue value to the chain, he could do it other ways, I think. Whether they're ethical or sensical or, appeal to the maximalist crowd, totally different stories. But there's better ways to do what he's trying to do, presumably pump his bag. Better ways to do it than this. I don't get it. And I cannot stop thinking about how obvious it is in retrospect that this guy never hears the other side of the argument for his own points. He never hears it. He's got people chanting his fucking name in Madeira. He's inviting people to his yacht for barbecues. He's got all the big names, right? Wrapped around his finger. Brunel, Lavera. Like, no one's ever going to say no to having him on.
He's speaking later this year in a prominent setting.
He's speaking at Bitcoin Magazine's conference, of course. But that's not the only conference. Don't think for a second, like the Canadian conference tried to get him last year, couldn't. Sure as shit, they tried to get him again this year. They couldn't. So they're like, everyone wants to talk to this guy, not just Bailey and the boys, everybody. My question for everybody is,
I don't want to talk to him anymore.
Well, neither do I. But my question for everybody is,
no longer.
Why not ask the guy, like, why not be adversarial? You have a role in content to be adversarial, right? Someone tells you something, you say, what about this? Someone says something about a point, you say, well, a year ago you said that. What changed? You don't have to fight with them, but find out the thinking. Odell tried this with the open source development thing. Whether you agree or disagree, it's a good thing that he's telling people not to contribute to open source developers. Different story. We never heard from the guy. Are you telling me all this stuff coming down, the clamps, the open source stuff? He decides that his public appearance is going to be at Bitcoin for businesses or corporations, and this is the thing that he launches. Like, it just doesn't add up. Now, I will leave the door open on, I'm a Neanderthal and just don't get it. You know, he's operating on a different dimension. He's playing 4D chess, whatever your meme of choice is. But Len, like, I don't know. I haven't heard anyone say anywhere that this is a good idea. Who's supportive of this? Even MSTR bulls. Like, I got to get SB on here for MSTR and coin earnings, I think in like a couple of weeks. Yeah, I'd love to talk to him about this. This is going to come up in their investor call. And some, brain dead peon from Wall Street Journal or Bloomberg is going to ask him, well, what is it? And he's going to be able again to roll downhill and give everything he wants people to know. And no one's going to challenge him on anything because they're, I was going to say they're stupid. They probably are, but really that's not the format for it. But still, like, regardless, clearly there's a problem here. We agree on that.
Sure. The problem is that these type of projects could exist. I think that is the ultimate problem here. I don't care how much Bitcoin he has. To me, it does not matter. I don't care whatever project they're working on. Again, to me, it doesn't matter. But it just goes to show you that there is some loophole within the existing protocol. I don't know, like, how it is we got to get rid of it, but there's going to be more of this shit going forward. I don't want to see more garbage thrown on Bitcoin. I don't want to see more of these transactions that are subsidized that are just being used when we're fucking paying for it. Like, thankfully I'm doing what I can with my node, but that's all I could do. I wish there was more that we could do, because like this garbage, we got to just fucking get rid of it. It just keeps getting recycled. And I don't know what is the answer here, but I'd love to seek out something to fucking finally get rid of it and fix it for once and for all.
This thing will crash and burn is my prediction.
Well, this particular project, but
the same way Ordinals did, the same way Runes did. Like, what is the fee rate right now? The fee market, it's got to be low again.
10, 15, 20.
You know what I mean? Like these people don't have the money or the attention span to keep any of these things going. And like, so I'm not that worried, but that's a separate issue than Saylor. Saylor, I think, has the influence and the capital to become a problem for the network.
How? Again, like I said, if the United States government, which is the biggest entity in this fucking world, if they decide to say, you know what, we're done with Bitcoin, mining, on-ramps, using Bitcoin, fucking stop it. It doesn't change anything. Bitcoin miners will still do their thing. Yeah. Bitcoin nodes will still be operating, and Bitcoin transactions and people holding Bitcoin will still fucking transpire. Yeah. So there's nothing, not even the biggest entity in this world could stop. So I don't give a shit what the fuck Saylor does or says. It's meaningless. I disagree. I disagree. His influence is too great. There's not many people like you, and there's many more people who are coming into the space who will never make it to the level of conviction you have, and he will be able to influence them relatively easily. It won't even take that much, because everyone wants their bags to go up. They will have seen the wealth that people like you and me and people who got in before us accrued, and they will say, this is my ticket to... No, I know, but like by then, let's say, 10 years go by, they will say, look, this is my chance to have the bag appreciate 100x. I got to follow this guy. I'm going to support him. I'm going to be a voice for him. It's easy to influence people like that. And again, like I think sometimes we're guilty of being in an echo chamber, because you and me view 99% of things the same way. And, we are the people who are hardened by a couple of really rough bull and bear cycles. People coming in now, what's going to be their, what's their christening? Where's the fire at their baptism? There is none. And they are just here for number go up, and they'll get it any way they can, including everybody that's coming into the space, the network that Saylor pushes. Everybody's the same way, that they come in for number go up, but the stakes are higher now. When you and I first bought in 2017, the landscape was different. The economy was much stronger. It was not teetering at the same way it is right now. The monetary system isn't as weak as it is right now. So there's a lot of different things. Like if you look at it, it's just a different game. And every day that passes, it gets worse and worse and worse. So everybody that's coming in, they're looking for an alternative. They're looking for taking away. Right now, the money is controlled by a select few. And this is essentially modernizing the monetary system and taking back that control and collectively distributing it. That's the way it is. And so I think people are going to be looking at it along those lines, not simply number go up. Eventually, it's going to be like people coming in. I'm looking for something different. I'm not looking for fucking number go up. I'm looking to secure my value to make sure that doesn't get debased because of somebody's decisions.
It's possible. Yeah. I'm not saying anyway, whatever. We can just end it there. We're done with the Bitcoin stories. But yeah,
there's one more. We still have to.
Sure. Okay. We'll be I looked at the hour and figured we were done, but that's fine.
No, we still haven't talked about this. It's the Robinhood Wells Notice. And I'll be quick because there's not much information I have about this. It's because their crypto arm division, they received a Wells Notice this morning. And this means that some sort of enforcement action, maybe a lawsuit, is coming up against Robinhood. What did they say? What's going to happen? I don't fucking know. But you were hinting at it earlier. When you go to the powers that be and you ask them for guidance, you ask them for advice, they don't give you an answer, and then eventually you get served with one of these Wells notices. Same thing as looking what's going on with Robinhood. But the reality is, even though you're going to these people and trying to get answers and they're not giving it to you, you could fucking look in the mirror and figure what the fuck is wrong. If you're dealing with shit like staking, if you're dealing with shit that smells like a security, well, like you're just asking for problems. If you were simply just buying and selling Bitcoin, I don't think you'd have any problems with these people. But if they want to go outside that and deal with these sketchy digital assets where the fuck the yield is coming from, I don't have a clue. Well, here you are. Enjoy the Wells Notice and whatever comes along with it.
Yeah, I'm 30% sympathetic to the guys at Robinhood. Vlad obviously has had a rough go. Took a lot of shit during the GameStop thing, you'll remember, for turning off the buy button and only enabling sells on stuff like GameStop and Tootsie Rolls or wherever else was on the meme stock list for Wall Street Bets there. He took a lot of shit for that. But the SEC and other government agencies for sure leaned on him to restrict buys. He didn't just wake up one morning and say, I got to restrict the buys here. I can't allow people to get rich off this. Someone told him to do it. And so he did that favor for these guys back then, saved probably a lot of people, a lot of billions and a lot of reputational points, and probably kept some bucket shops open. And now, after asking for guidance, and he's not the only one, by the way, like Coinbase, again, like I'm somewhat sympathetic to Armstrong, even though I disagree with them on the Bitcoin versus Ethereum guidance. He's asked for guidance over the years. They don't seem to get it. Paul Grewal, who's the attorney at Coinbase, is very publicly saying, like, we're asking for meetings with these guys. Even if we get an answer we don't like, at least they could fucking meet us. They won't do it. I suspect Robinhood, who's a much smaller player, experiencing similar issues. Again, I would file this under chilling effect more than anything else. You'll notice that, the SEC just won't do this with Coinbase, even though Coinbase has, ostensibly all the same things. I don't think they're there for anything that Coinbase doesn't trade on its platform. Coinbase is the place where all this garbage launches, right? It's like the larvae nest of bullshit tokens. And I just think that, like, anyone who's like thinking this is anything but chilling effect is, these laws are intentionally vague, by the way. The Howey test, like it's not really that good. It's literally 100 years old at this point or close. We're really going to use this to decide what's security and what's not. And I don't hold any of this stuff. Obviously, I know you don't. It's just that we are trying, I say we, the US is trying to shoehorn new things that people find value in into 100-year-old legislation. When the most advanced piece of technology was a calculator, it's not going to work. There has to be a change, but there can't be, because when you change something like that, the inertia to do it is impossible to manifest anyways. But if you were to change something as old as the Howey test and change the rules for securities laws, like, you would just have the floodgates open and everything would become completely unruly. There's some people who would, say, and I think I might be one of them, that would say that just because you have a hard time governing doesn't mean that you should govern improperly as a solution. And I think that's where we are, right? You're kind of at the precipice here in a lot of ways. AI, investing, currencies, war, these things, they're different now than they were 10 years ago. All of them, materially so. And the change is accelerating. The idea that you can keep regulating and keep governing in the way you have for, at this point in the States, 250 years, 225 years? It's just not, quite plainly, it's a dumb thing to think. And it seems like everyone just refuses to think any other way over there.
I like what Norwal Taco said in the chat. I hope he makes bank on it.
I won't be repeating that anyway.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it, Joey. I think that's it for the Bitcoin related stuff. So
Sure. Yeah, I'll switch over. You know what the drill is. If you're on audio, we'll see you tomorrow. If you're on video, hang tight, like the video, all that stuff. Share it with your friends, your mechanic, your priest. And we'll see you in 0 seconds.
And don't be a cuck. Are you a fan of the old school NHL 94 game on the Genesis or SNES? Why not check out my show, the NHL 94 podcast? From tournaments and tactics to the people who make up this community. Check it out wherever you listen to podcasts or find it on YouTube.